Talk about a bit about the other bills that you're currently working on.
This legislative session, I filed about 40 bills, and there's a wide range of legislation from public safety, transportation, education, veterans issues, but there was one bill I recently testified before the Joint Committee on Transportation that had to do with raising monies to make cities and towns more handicap accessible. We often see the need for curb cuts, wheelchair ramps, elevators for our seniors, veterans, and the physically challenged. But what happens is a lot of cities and towns can't afford to make these implementations. What this bill would do is raise the handicap parking fine from $100 to $150. That additional $50 would go in a separate account back to the city or town where the violation occurred. This money will create funds to make those necessary renovations on the backs of people who park in handicap spots. We all see it. We travel around shopping malls, and
sadly,
and there's people who do not have a placard or handicap plate, and for one reason or another, they're pulling right up, taking that spot away from someone else. So this was a way to generate money on the backs of these violators who shouldn't be parking there, without raising taxes, without raising fees, and generating the necessary monies to implement these necessary modifications. When the ADA law came into play, the American Disabilities Act, cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth came up with plans, but they just didn't have the financial resources to implement them. This is a way to fund it on the back of violators. So it's something we're working now with the House and Senate members, and hopefully we'll have the support to make it become law.
Any other bills?
There's a lot of bills right now that...
Couldn't get into all 40, I realize.
Well, it's a lot of the bills, and we have a great delegation. Yesterday with the downtown bill, that was probably one of the bigger bills, and we're very fortunate to have Ron Mariano in his new role as majority leader. He worked awful hard on that bill to expedite it through the House and the Senate, and with the governor signing. With the help of Taki Chan and Senator Keenan. It's great to have a good delegation up there, and we do have a good delegation teaming up on a lot of these bills. And even in former Senator Morrissey and former Representative Tobin with some of the past capital improvements, they work very hard on those issues. So we've been lucky.
You had mentioned handicapped accessibility. I'm looking now to a program that helps the physically challenged often at times, and that's the Helping Hand program, celebrating 20 years. This is quite an anniversary. Talk a little bit about the program for those at home that aren't too familiar, and
Sure.
Probably, if you could, just give a little history of the program too. 20 years is a milestone.
It's a long time. It's hard to believe it's 20 years. With the high costs of healthcare throughout the country and the state, you often hear of seniors who are living on a fixed income that may need a wheelchair or a hospital bed or durable medical equipment that don't have the proper insurance, and they have nowhere to turn. How the program works is we ask people who may have some of these items they no longer need, and they may be in their attic or basement, to donate them to the Helping Hand program. And the common items we get, Mark, are wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, commodes, hospital beds. The outlet we provide is the storage where we can keep them at my business, and we give them to anyone who has a need free of charge. So it's really people helping people. It's found a niche in the city of Quincy, but we do an awful lot of work with the visiting nurses. So if anyone can benefit from any of these items, please give me a call, or if you'd like to donate any of these items, we'll be happy to arrange a pickup. It's been a great, and fortunately from the generosity of the people who've been donating the equipment that helps our inventory.
Well, and again, it's a short-term disability. Folks use it for the time that they need it, then they hand it back.
That's correct. And we also, right now we do get other items too. Right now we have 2 hospital beds, an electric scooter, and a stair lift that we're trying to find a home for. So if any of your viewers might be interested in that, please give us a call.
You travel all over the Commonwealth. Just curious, how does the city of Quincy compare to other communities?
The city of Quincy is very fortunate, as we alluded to earlier with the capital improvements, for the size and population of the city of Quincy, there's an awful lot going on. We've got a good future, but you're right, as legislators, we do crisscross the state on various issues, and you find yourself comparing your city and town with one another, reviewing ordinances, reviewing programs, but the city of Quincy has a strong sense of community involvement. A lot of pride and history in the city of Quincy. I think we just saw that most recently in the Cleaner Greener. You saw just a lot of people come out to participate for the betterment of their neighborhood. Whether it was in my district alone, there was an awful lot of activity in Squantum, North Quincy, Wollaston, West Quincy. It's great community involvement. And, the same goes for our fraternal organizations, the Elks, the Sons of Italy, Knights of Columbus, our veterans organizations. There's groups out there like the Squantum Seaside Gardeners or just a number of Friends of Wollaston Beach do another great job. It says a lot about the group's involvement and I think the character of the people who get involved. You don't necessarily see a lot of that in other cities and towns, so we're very fortunate in the city of Quincy to have that community involvement.
We should mention just briefly that you must have been relatively impressed with the census figures that came out for the city of Quincy. They show that not only are our numbers growing, we are becoming more diverse.
Yes, it is. It's very encouraging, and there's so many different programs that cover the very diverse population, as we mentioned, the volunteer groups. There's an awful lot out there for people, opportunities and involvement. All they need to do in a lot of situations is just contact City Hall or the State House, and we can provide them with that information they might not be aware of.
People to get in touch with you, we have had your number, and we currently do have your number and email on the screen. Mm-hmm. Best way is through email, would you say? Or
they can email my office. They can give me a call. If someone would like to meet with me personally, I hold office hours every other Friday in the morning from 9:30 to 11. We had an opportunity to discuss some matters tonight, but there's a lot of other things happening. So if someone would like to meet with me, I encourage that. We're always looking, for new suggestions and different ideas throughout the district.
I just want to back up just a bit. You had mentioned Cleaner Greener, and that certainly is a day in the city of Quincy where communities get together, and they're very, very driven in the community that they're cleaning up, in the area that they're cleaning up. It certainly shows pride in the city they live in.
It really does. And that was a great day. The weather cooperated. There was just so many people that got involved. A lot of businesses got involved. And it's a big boost for our city, too, because you look at all the labor that was done that morning, all the people cleaning up and planting flowers and trees and shrubs. It saves the city an awful lot of money. But you're right, it shows that there's a lot of pride in the city.
When we talked about contact questions, people email you. What would you say is the most common right now? What is the most common email? Is it addressing the budget, potentially the economy?
It's the budget. There's so many pieces of legislation that are being, each year or each legislative session, there's approximately 6,000 bills that are filed at the State House.
That many.
So there is. And each one of those bills gets referred to a committee. And when those bills come up before a public hearing, we usually get inundated with emails, regular mail, phone calls from constituents weighing in on one side or the other of the issue. So, and it's very effective. It's nice to know what's on our constituents' minds. So we, obviously encourage people to get us. Email's been probably the most popular lately, just so it's just so quick and easy.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the meeting of the Quincy City Council the night that the state delegation addressed them. So you had briefly talked about that. What were the questions from the council varied, or did they have a common theme? What basically came to your attention through them?
Well, the councils are doing a good job, along with Mayor Koch. In other cities and towns are struggling throughout the state. We've been very active trying to get as much local aid as possible. We've done pretty well with funding for education. There's other areas of the budget where we need to look for improvement. But you know, one of the good things about it, and the delegation has a good relationship with the city, is you have to work very closely. And that was the intent, to go out, have an opportunity to speak with the councilors so they can plan properly. They're in the middle of their budget deliberations right now, so to give them kind of a forecast of what the budget numbers are a big help as they set the various tax rates and what have you.
And you had mentioned, of course, the central middle school and the reimbursement now at 80%.
Yes.
Fortunately, I believe it started either in the low 70s or possibly even below that. So Quincy has done pretty well getting, I know it doesn't match the 90% that was spoken of years back, but 80% is certainly better than 60%.
It is. 80% is great. You know, it's good planning. They've been working, the city officials have been working very closely with Treasurer Grossman's office, with Kathleen Craven, making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed with all the proper documentation, and making sure all the criteria matches up with what they're looking for.
Well, we have just about come to the end of our program. Again, it's not very difficult to fill a half hour's worth of space. Certainly, there's a lot that affects the city of Quincy coming from the state level. But as we close, any closing remarks, any thoughts? Certainly we would like to have you back sooner than we did this time round. I think the last time you were back in here for a similar show was probably 3 years, 4 years ago. So certainly I'll work on getting you in here on a more regular basis.
That'd be great. You know, it's nice to be able to talk to you and the viewers at home. You know, I appreciate the opportunity to come here today. You know, there's a lot happening in the city of Quincy. You know, there's a lot of planning being done in the infrastructure, in our schools. You know, as legislators, we have to make sure that we're getting the proper state services, that we're working closely on budgetary matters with the city council. So this is something we'll be working very closely with over the next several months. I'd be happy to come back and provide you with another update.
I appreciate that.
Thanks.
And for all of us here at Quincy Access Television, we appreciate you tuning in. Please continue to watch Quincy Access Television for more locally produced programming. See you next time.